In this week's video, I'm going to be helping you by going over some tips and my best advice to help you get over that stage fright. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. For those that are new, I drop a video every Friday with some drumming related content. So whether it's a tutorial, a vlog, or some tips like this one, there'll be something here for you to enjoy. So make sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Also, for those of you that aren't new, how do you like the new intro? I've spent a little bit of time on that. It was my 10K present to myself, so I hope you enjoy it. Hit that thumbs up if you did. Now, let's get to the point. We're here to talk about stage fright and nerves and how to overcome them, and how it can really cripple you if you're new to gigging, or even if you're not, and it can really throw off a performance. First of all, I think what we need to do is we need to define the difference between stage fright and nervousness. So according to Google, the definition of stage fright is nervousness before or during an appearance before an audience. And nervous is easily agitated or alarmed. So tackling this from a musician's point of view, I think we often confuse stage fright and nerves, or even have a combination of the two, but 9 times out of 10 what we're actually feeling is stage fright, and it's just the fear of doing something wrong in front of people, or making yourself look bad, or even just the fact that there's a crowd there in the first place. Now, you are not alone if you feel this way. Some of the best musicians, some of the most experienced musicians in the world still feel this, but I'm just here to try and help you to understand it really, and help you overcome that feeling and know what you can do to minimize it or even get rid of it. I think personally, it all just comes down to preparation. Often we feel nervous or stage fright when we feel like we're not in control of a situation, or if we're worried that we're going to do something wrong. Now, we would only have those feelings if you're inexperienced at what you're about to do. So that could mean either you just haven't gigged very often, so you are not as used to stuff that could go wrong, how to fix it. Does that make sense? Basically what I mean is, if something's going to go wrong on stage, you only know how to deal with that and fix it quickly if you have experience, and if you've experienced it at least more than once. Something goes wrong once, nerves, stage fright, panic, I don't know what to do. Happens the second time, you can think, this has happened before and I know exactly how to deal with it this time. A good example of that is dropping your drumsticks. Really simple, right? So this is something I still do all the time, but I have students who say they're so nervous about dropping a stick live because they're worried it's going to throw everything off, which is a good point. However, knowing that you may drop your sticks quite often, especially someone like me, what you need to do is prepare. You need to prepare for that moment and practice how to recover if you do drop a stick. So I would put drumsticks, spare drumsticks each side of the kit, so I've got some for my right hand and my left hand to grab, and then if you do drop one, do your best to keep the beat going with the other hand, pick up the other stick and carry on like nothing happened. And that's the most pro thing I can say. After you've done that a few times, you'll no longer get nervous about that situation because you've done it 100 times, and you'll soon realise the only person who's noticing that happened is you. Maybe your bandmates, but they won't care. But that's one example of preparing, okay? Or it might just be that you're playing to a bigger crowd, a crowd you've never played to that big before. The more you do, the easier it becomes, and weirdly, I'm sure most of my friends who are musicians will agree, the bigger the crowd, the less nervous you are, because you can't pick out individual faces so much that might be judging you or making you feel nervous. So really, what I'm trying to say is, I think the way to overcome stage fright and nerves is just to keep going and just stick at whatever you're doing, and make sure you're ultra prepared for any situation you're going to find yourself in. I used to get nervous all the time before gigs, but it's because I'd be anticipating something that could go wrong, which hasn't gone wrong before. But this far into how many gigs I've been doing and how long I've been doing it, I can't really think of something that could go wrong, which I don't know how to deal with. So that stage fright and nerves aren't really there anymore. Sometimes there's just a little bit of positive anxiety when you're just so pumped up and ready to go and it gets the best of you. But this all sounds good and well and good coming from me, but I want you to hear it from some other people too. So I'm going to cut into a little sequence here of me asking as many of my musician friends as I could find with my camera today, just how they feel when it comes to nerves and how they get over it. So enjoy this next bit and then we'll be back to conclude this video. Josh Locke, biggest venue you've ever played or festival?
Biggest crowd I've played was about 3,000 to 4,000 people.
Were you nervous?
No, not for that one. I wasn't nervous for that one.
So why weren't you nervous?
I think it was just because I'd had really good rehearsals with my bandmates, and I also knew the bandmates really well. It was Rich and Murray for that particular one, and we were just so tight that I knew nothing really could go wrong. Apart from I think I broke a string, but I had a spare guitar with me, so
preparation is
prepared,
key.
preparation.
Nice.
You know, so it was all right. I didn't feel nervous, and that really helped because I was really talking and interacting with the crowd. So it didn't make if I showed fear and a bit of nerves, then you know, a crowd like dogs, they can sense it.
Awesome.
Cut that one out, will you?
Murray Collins.
Hello.
Biggest venue or festival you've ever played in terms of capacity?
Festival, probably Glastonbury Festival, and capacity like 3,000, something like that.
Were you nervous?
Not really, no.
Why?
Done it a lot of times. Like the more you do something, the less it's intimidating, and you actually thrive on the bigger the crowd.
Rich Webb.
Yes.
Biggest crowd or festival you've ever played to? Venue.
It was playing an Okusan gig at Amtil Rocks, supporting The Feeling.
How many people?
A couple of thousand.
Were you nervous?
No, not at all.
Give me an example of when you were nervous.
My first ever gig is the only time I've been nervous, when all my bandmates were completely unprepared and the whole thing fell apart. And after that, nothing could have hurt worse than that. So it was brilliant.
Why weren't you nervous for the gig with The Feeling?
We've just come off the end of a tour with Okusan, and when you've played the show a million times, it all just kind of comes down to muscle memory, so you don't have to think about anything. It goes into your sort of subconscious.
Bronwyn, biggest gig you've ever played?
V Festival.
How many people?
8,000.
Were you nervous?
Ridiculously nervous, I threw up.
Why?
Because it was the biggest gig we've ever played as a band, and the first time we used a click track. Fun fact.
So how did you get over those nerves?
After throwing up, running on, just literally going for it, grabbing it by the balls and just shouting, being like, "Come on, V Festival!"
In the future,
Yes.
how did that make you deal with nerves?
I think going from that to smaller shows from then on, it was nice because it kind of just, we knew that we could deal with something that big, and then from then on it was like, okay, we can do this.
And is that because you were prepared for things that might have gone wrong, like the click track, which you haven't done before?
100%, yes. Practice, practice, practice. We practiced probably for 2 weeks straight.
Amazing. Rob Lewis, biggest gig you've ever played?
Ipswich Music Day 2015, Stetsons Are Cool.
Were you nervous?
No, I wasn't nervous. I don't get nervous because I've done it loads of times and I'm always well prepared, so I've always got, if something goes wrong, I've got contingency in there. So
Perfect. You're a prime example of what I'm talking about in this video today. Tom McCarthy, biggest gig you've played this year?
It was 013 in Tilburg. It was 3,000 people.
Were you nervous?
Strangely, I wasn't nervous, but I think sometimes when there's a lot of people, it feels a little bit more impersonal. You know what I mean? But the thing is, I still get nervous when I play to smaller crowds.
I think it's quite common. I said in the video earlier that smaller crowds are more intimidating because you can see everyone who might be judging you, even though they're not. But a big crowd becomes like a body of people and you can't really pick individual people out.
That's true.
So, strangely, do you find the bigger gigs are less nerve-wracking than the smaller ones?
I do, yeah.
So, you strike me as someone who doesn't get nervous very often. Why is that? Is that because you're well practiced or just well experienced, or a combination of the both?
Yeah, it only takes turning up to something unprepared once for you to learn that it's an awful experience.
Yeah.
So from then, I'd like to make sure that I'm well rehearsed. I know what I'm supposed to be doing on the night. So it takes a huge weight off my mind, really.
Nice. Harley Cotton.
Hello.
Biggest gig you've ever played?
Astonbury.
How many people?
That was about 5,500 people, I think.
Were you nervous?
A little, but not really, because it was a weird one, because it was a last minute gig, so it was only always going to be like jammed. It wasn't like learn the stuff, bang on. It was a case of just go on stage and do my thing.
You strike me as someone who doesn't really get nervous anymore, a bit like Tom when I spoke to him. Is that because you're so experienced that you now know how to deal with things when they go wrong?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I'm confident on a stage that I know where everything is. You know, when you go into a new place, always a bit like, what's happening here? But the stage, I know that my pedal board's going to be in front of me and my amp's going to be behind me, and that's where I'm most comfortable. I do get nervous, and I do get for gigs that are kind of important, that might be lead to other things, but that's all in the head. It's not so much the gig itself that I'm nervous about.
One last thing, I haven't asked anyone else this, so you're special. What one piece of advice would you give to a new musician who's new to gigging to help them overcome stage fright and nerves?
Well, the easy answer, gig lots. The more gigs you do, the easier it gets. I started at jam sessions, so that might be something that's good to do, because you get used to playing in unfamiliar environments, as in with musicians that you've never met, playing songs you've never played before. So then when you are in a situation where you're playing in front of hundreds and thousands of people, then when you're doing that, you're still playing songs you know, and that's the easy part. So then the crowd becomes less of the big deal, and you're sort of just comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Ting.
God, smash it.
So there we are. I hope you found that super helpful. Basically, in the nutshell, what everyone's been saying and what I've been saying is the number one thing to get over stage fright is preparation. Make sure that before you do something, whether it's talking in front of an audience, or whether it's a gig or a dance routine, whatever it is you're doing when you're feeling stage fright, when you're rehearsing, make sure that you also think about every possible thing that could go wrong and plan how you're going to recover from that or fix that in the moment. And I guarantee you that will get rid of so many of your nerves and really reduce that stage fright. So there we go. I hope you found that useful. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Make sure to like the video if it was a help to you, and also leave a comment down below of an example of when you've had stage fright or nerves and how you got around that and how it made you feel. I'd be really interested to know how you guys deal with this stuff too. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, as that does really help. And also, for all of you subscribers, you do have the chance of winning a Tama snare drum, which I'm giving away as part of my 10k giveaway. So to do that, after this video, watch the video that I've linked up there, and it will give you all the instructions on how you can enter. There's also a discount code running on my merch store at the moment, so you can get 10% off an order. So if you want one of these t-shirts, just go to the website linked below, enter this discount code, boom, 10% off. Finally, if you are gigging yourself this weekend, I hope your set goes well, and I hope you don't have any stage fright or nerves, and fingers crossed you get through it and absolutely smash it. So until next time, have a brilliant weekend, and whatever you're doing today, go out and smash it. Tom McCarthy.
Yeah.
Biggest band. You ready?
Yeah.
Tom McCarthy,